All right, everyone. It appears that the Democrats are apparently attempting to lose the next election. Up until now, Gavin Newsom had been kind of the front runner for the potential Democratic primaries. We're not even sure whether he is going to throw his hat in the ring, but the assumption is he probably will. His baggage is severe, and Buttigieg is in third place, and his baggage is severe too. So I don't know. The top three candidates here, we'll list them and then go through these numbers and say why this is a terrible, terrible situation for the Democratic Party. The new front runner is Kamala Harris. Yes, indeed. Morning Consult poll. Yes, only a day ago, showing her up by 9 points. This is an inflection from when Gavin Newsom was up by a fairly similar margin, or actually even a little bit more, only a month ago. If the Democrats are souring on Newsom and focusing on Harris, that's just terrible news. It's just completely terrible. Here's your top three. You've got Newsom still in the statistical category. In the aggregate, he's still ahead. So we'll assume that he's technically still the front runner, and this is a skewed poll or, had a flawed methodology or something. First, you've got Newsom. That French laundry incident will go over so well, along with his amphetamine-addled debating tactics. Okay, so there's your front runner, I guess, for the Democratic Party. In second place, and arguably rising at this point, arguably into the primary slot, is Kamala Harris, the border czar who visited the border exactly once. In third place, you've got gay Dracula, the transport secretary that failed to even visit the East Palestine train derailment until he was forced to do so by the Biden administration because Trump preempted him and then gave out a bunch of bottled water and cleaning supplies to people. At least he did something. Was it a photo op? Of course it was. Let's be completely serious. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, having bottled water instead of drinking cancer water is probably a little bit of an improvement. I don't think that people begrudged him that. In fact, the mayor of East Palestine, very, very quick to endorse Donald Trump for re-election. There's probably a reason for that. The fact is that your frontrunners suck. They all suck. They're not capable of winning. You run Gavin, you're probably facing off against J.D. Vance. There are a couple of other possible opportunists that might jump aboard. Gabbard is one of them. I think she'd do a good job, by the way. I would trust her as president. And a few others, but really it's probably going to be J.D. Vance. A dude who leans into the memes, doesn't give a shit if you criticize him and stuff like that. So he's pretty much an ironclad when it comes to defensive capabilities. And your top three runners here are people with so much baggage that I can't imagine them ever winning a national election. Like Kamala hasn't thrown her hat in the ring. Buttigieg hasn't done so either. Neither has Newsom, for that matter. They all are clearly angling for the position, but I don't think any of them can do it. The Democratic Party needs a dark horse candidate. They need another Barack Obama. Will it work? Maybe, maybe not. Is it more likely to work than putting on the former transport secretary after the East Palestine incident? Probably. Can you imagine how those debates would go? Here's J.D. Vance debating with Pete Buttigieg. Hey, Pete, you remember that time that there was a massive train derailment and they were burning chemicals and contaminating everything for 1,000 miles in every direction, and you decided not to show up until Donald Trump went there? Was this related, by the way? When Trump went there, were you compelled by the Biden administration to go? And of course, he's going to have to lie and say, no, 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 I just decided to go. I was working on my own schedule. I had work to do. That's not going to go over well. To Kamala Harris. Hey, Kamala, your borders are self-proclaimed by the legacy media. When the border crisis wasn't a thing, you owned this title. Why is it that you only went to the border twice and spent like a collective maybe 2 hours total at the border when you were literally tasked with some of the most important diplomacy with regards to the border crisis? That'll go over really well as well. I mean, Kamala Harris, she won't go over well with anyone anyway, so nobody really cares, but it'd be a good debate point. With Gavin Newsom, hey, you remember that time that you locked down your state, but then you didn't even follow your own rules? Technically, in the process, breaking your own laws? Yeah, the lockdown didn't do intergenerational damage to the US public, especially to the youth or anything. Meanwhile, you were having, $300 plates at the French Laundry, and you and your friends were dancing around drunk and clearly high on other substances as well, as we have seen multiple times. But you didn't bother to address the issue of you breaking your own laws at the time. You pretty much just shrugged your shoulders amphetamine mode and said, well, I'd rather not talk about that. This would be a shit show. I mean, Kamala Harris? Harris is probably the worst of the three. You'd be better off running gay Dracula. Yeah, okay, people are going to judge him for East Palestine, and he's not liked among the far left. I don't know exactly why, but for some reason they have a specific dislike for him. He would probably be the most viable of the three. And of course, Pritzker, he's fallen off a cliff. He's basically not in running. Hochul's not in the running. You don't really have anything else there. Bashar and some of these other people, they don't even poll for some of these other individuals anymore. They poll for the top three. They don't even poll for the others because they've dropped off a cliff so much. They've become such, wasted talent, if you can call it that, that they don't even bother to ask people if they would vote for them because it'll be like one person that says yes. So you've basically got three candidates unless you get a dark horse in. None of these three individuals, in my opinion, is capable of winning a federal level election. Harris has already lost twice. She lost in the Democratic primaries, got taken up as a DEI hire, ran for office anyway, and got crushed. Gavin Newsom is from a deep blue state where he's awfully safe there, but he wants, he's got national ambitions. We already know this. It's quite clear. I mean, look at his statements over the last few months. He wants to run for the presidency. Is it wise to do so? In my opinion, the answer is no. In Gavin Newsom's opinion, the answer is probably yes, though, because he really, really wants to become president of the United States. I do not believe that this will happen. As far as Buttigieg goes, again, he's relatively young, he's relatively well-spoken, and he's actually relatively moderate on some issues, but he's got that baggage, number one, and for some reason the left hates him. Also, there's the whole he's gay thing, so this would rankle some voters. I personally do not care. I will still call him gay Dracula, though, because it's hysterical to do so. If Harris is really a 7 in the polling, what are the Democrats doing? You'd be better off with either Newsom or gay Dracula. Kamala Harris, you really want to run her again? Did you see what happened the last time around? I guess that the ethos, the principle, is, well, if she had had more time to prepare, she could have won. Yeah, but at what cost? Then Kamala Harris is the President of the United States. There are plenty of us who are absolutely terrified at the idea of that happening. And I do believe, as some other commentators do, I believe that the first female president of the United States is very likely to be a Republican. I do not believe that it's going to be Kamala Harris or a Hillary Clinton, something like that. Because the scolds on the left, they rankle people. They degrade them, they denigrate them, they call us deplorables and fanatics and Nazis and all sorts of other things. They're preachers, basically, more than anything. Nobody likes this sort of thing. Nobody likes the scolding church marm. That's one of the most uniquely unlikable personalities that you can have. But that's basically every Democratic female at this point, other than maybe Cinema. She's not exactly a slouch when it comes to scolding other people either. Other than that, most of it is scolding church marms. You actually resemble more like the Republicans from 30 years ago or something. You're acting like Margaret Thatcher or something like that, scolding people. Now, only you're less intelligent, so you're not able to get those quips in the proper manner. When gay Dracula is ostensibly the most electable person, but is in a distant third place position, I can't even fathom these polls at this point. We have to wait until after midterms to really see the solidification of any potential field. I have a feeling that Newsom will run. I have a feeling that Buttigieg will run. I'm not sure about Kamala Harris. She's already been defeated both in the primaries and in a general election. She wants the position, that's quite clear. Will she actually run? I think that after she was effectively stiffed by the DNC, and she was, we have to give credit where credit is due. Kamala Harris and her campaign are fundamentally correct when they say that they didn't get the required support that they needed. She's not wrong about this. That's the one thing that she said, I think, in her entire political career that's fundamentally, ostensibly correct. She was stiffed. But at the same time, if you can't get the cooperation of the party, it's going to be an uphill battle for you to even win the primaries, especially if Newsom wades in, even though apparently you're now somewhat ahead of him, which is absolutely hilarious. Never would have believed this. If you had told me the current political climate would exist 10 years ago, I would have thought that you were insane. Then I realized I was the insane one. But these people are way, way more insane than both of us combined. We'll put it that way. That's about all. Peace out.